on, yeah, it would be, your nightly news show, or it would be like, say, five of the big
Mm.
newspapers to get all of their news. But I think information's so readily accessible now, and we've got basically like an unlimited amount of potential viewpoints from people that are just at our fingertips. Like, I think, yeah, social media makes it way more accessible, and
It
it's
does.
now like bite sized. Like, there's loads of like especially the Instagram Reels and stuff like that. You can get caught up on a topic in like seconds, rather than having to watch you know, a whole segment of a TV show, for example, or a whole
Yep.
article. Like, it's the snackable content that does make it more accessible. And I think there's a lot of like TLDR news is something me and my brother have been watching recently, and that's
Oh
like
yeah.
a YouTube account. It breaks down like the latest news stories and just puts them into like a 7 minute video or something that's quite interesting.
Okay.
It's very
Yeah.
visual, like it's just, and I think I didn't even realize my brother was into politics. But now that there's these sort of YouTube channels, and they're kind of hitting him in the channels that he's engaging with, like, and he's active in, like TikTok and stuff like that. He's a lot more like locked into it. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's helping people access that kind of information a lot more easily, I think, for sure.
Yeah. I do think it goes both ways because I do agree that it's more accessible. But I mean, an example of this, I deleted TikTok around the time Trump and Harris were going head to head in the election,
Yeah.
mainly because my TikTok was just filled with people with an opinion. Everyone thought of themselves as an expert or a thought leader,
Hmm.
and a platform for funny cat videos had suddenly become
Yeah.
political and a lot of whining. Even though I agreed with a lot of people complaining about Trump and I wanted Harris to win, I'd get it out there. I just didn't need to hear it 24/7 of people whining and complaining about it. Um, so I think it goes both ways. I think obviously there's a credibility problem with social media sometimes as well. Even though the main sources on social media have to be credible, but then there's so many people who kind of position themselves as these experts and thought leaders that
Yeah.
it's hard to know what is true sometimes.
Absolutely. And I think the default almost like tone of voice on social media, like, well, I mean, the early days of Twitter, it felt like people could have a sensible, like, amicable debate. But I go
Hmm.
on there sometimes now, or X or whatever you want to call it, and it's just the default like mood is just hostility all the time. It's
Yep.
like someone will put a viewpoint, or someone will put across an opinion, and someone will counter it in the most like horrible, like horribly aggressive way possible, just as the default. And like sometimes I do believe that people are more easily triggered these days than they used to
Yep.
be. Like, I think everyone has to have an opinion on something these days, or at least like less people can just sit back and let an opinion rest. Like, people just have to, like, jump on top of it. Um, and yeah, it's, I guess, again with social media, it's the echo chamber. Like, the algorithms on like TikTok and stuff work in the same way. If you're engaging with a lot of similar stuff, then you see the same stuff on your feed all the time, and then you tend to like engage with people that have the same opinions as you all the time. So then you get stuck, and you get like, you're seeing the news you almost want to see and that you agree with all the time, rather than the news that you probably
Yep.
should see, that will challenge your opinions and, like, your view on the world. So yeah, that's a very
Exactly
real
that. I think people, it's not healthy just to consistently hear the same opinions and the opinions that you agree with. I think it's so important to read into and listen to people that you don't agree with, just so you can form your own opinion. I think social media has segregated people more in terms of their ideas and their identity than actually making it a more liberal space where you can listen to other people
thing.
and listen to their view.
It feels like there's less objectivity in the news these days as well. Like, even with watching the news, but there seems to be more of an agenda, like especially with some of the bigger shows, like GB News especially and stuff like that. Like, you watch, you watch those kind of things, and it's like, well, I'm not hearing what exactly happened. I'm hearing someone's view on that, like on what happened, like, and it's being twisted by, like, uh, that person's particular opinion, the opinion of like the platform that they're speaking on, like all of that. They don't want to offend certain people. Like they're happily to take shots at other people. So I think people have more been pushed away by the kind of the bigger news providers to those spaces where they can freely express their opinions. Um, but yeah, it's like you said, it's still like an absolute war zone out there.
Yeah, GB News is a good example because I think they've tapped into that shock marketing where they say something outrageous and they get clicks.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, there are people who listen and engage with it because it riles them up and makes them even more angry at the country and the world. And it's just generating this sort of cycle of anger almost.
And I think critical thinking is being diminished. Like my dad listens to LBC quite a lot, and a lot of the
Mhm.
callers will call up and they're very like one note, they're very like riled up about a certain issue. But when they're pressed on it, you realize they've not thought long enough about the issue to have any semblance of like a solution or any semblance of what they're actually upset about. Or they've just discarded the facts and they're just angry at like a headline, for example, and then they're made up. They're like, this is fact, this is it. So yeah, I think critical thinking is just slowly running out, and people are just jumping on the next opinion.
People who are on GB News and even LBC, I think you know exactly what their stance is going to be on a certain issue before they even tell you because they've just siloed themselves in this way of thinking and they just discard anyone else's viewpoints that might not align to their own.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's like how we should be is strong opinions, loosely held. So like you're open to
Yeah,
other people's viewpoints, you're open to your mind being changed. But what we usually see is weak opinions, strongly held. So,
yeah,
people haven't thought enough about an issue to have such conviction on it, but yet they do, and they will like die on that hill, even though they don't really know what hill they're dying on.